What's going on, friend? In this episode, we have a very interesting comparison. More lanzas, and now we break it down, baby. Alright, thank you so much for being here once again, and remember, as usual, like, subscribe, and do all those cool little things that we like to do on YouTube so that you and I can stay in touch with each other. Anyway, like I said, we have a very interesting comparison today. I bring this puppy out yet again. I know I love to use this guitar, but you know, it's like I always say, great humbucker sounds and great single coil sounds. And today is the day that we're gonna have to put that to the test. You know, I really felt like I had to do this video because I do own a few Strats and I have these PRS. And for those of you who don't know, I did change the pickups to the USA core versions, meaning that this PRS SE has the core pickups, just like any custom 24 or 2408 would. But I digress. Let's get to what we get here. So,
the contenders are gonna be
my American Professional 2 Stratocaster. I just left the pickups stock because I really like these pickups. I like to say that they sound a lot like Fat 50s, but a little bit more modern. Contender number 2 right here. This made in Mexico, Fender Stratocaster Deluxe. And in this one, I changed all the electronics, and now we have the Fat 50s, the custom shop Fat 50s set up here. And I really love the sound of
this guitar.
So we're gonna definitely check those out. And the main reason why I'm checking it with these two is because a lot of people tend to complain about the sound of noiseless because they say that they're not authentic. So here we are, Fat 50s. It's gotta be pretty authentic. The American Pro 2s. You didn't think for a second that I was gonna leave this puppy out of the game, right? This is just an American Strat Ultra. And I'll be dumb if I don't put it in this test because first of all, I have it right here. Why wouldn't I, right? But most importantly, let's check the noiseless too. I think it's just great to check all these different flavors of single coil pickups that everybody tend to love. And this would be like, let's say, what's the expression? Dark horse, black horse. Anyway, okay, so having checked the contenders, let's just do a few tests. All right, let's start with our neck pickups. Alright, now let's check position 4, and in the PRS, that's gonna be just the middle position because I feel like that's the closest because they both are noise canceling at that point. And I want to mention that in the PRS, I'm lowering the volume to like around 8.5 because that's where like it kind of sort of matches the rest of the pickups because you cannot overlook the fact that those are way hotter pickups. Okay, so let's go. And now, just for the love of it, let's just try the bridge pickup. And right now, just for good measure, let's just do a simple strum in that neck pickup so we can hear how the different pickups handle that. Alright, I think that was like super interesting to make. I feel like there's a few takeaways to have right out of the bat. I think we cannot overlook the fact that the pickups on the PRS are way hotter. So in the case that we would like to push the amp a lot more, we do have that flexibility. So that's kind of like a nice thing to have. But I feel like as soon as I drop the volume down on the PRS, you get really close to the authentic kind of like Fender sound. And I feel like the other key takeaway just to talk about is that the Ultra with the noiseless pickups definitely, maybe, I don't want to say like it's louder, but it does get a lot more distortion quicker. Every time I heard that one, it kind of made me feel like maybe I wanted to turn the volume of the PRS a little bit higher. But as soon as I went down to American Pro 2 and the Deluxe with the Fat 50s, I felt like, no, actually I was a little too hot. So I feel like that's something like a space, maybe let's call it like a margin of error that you can navigate with the PRS. Like if you were like to have like a hotter single coil pickup, you can kind of like simulate that with the PRS. And if you were to have like a lower output, you can always do that with the PRS and just turn it down. But now let's get just to the nitty gritty. It's funny and at the same time it's not, because it's kind of like obvious, but you don't think about it. For some reason, zoop, the sound of these two guitars, it's pretty similar in the way that the amp reacts to them. And I kind of know that it makes sense because they're all humbuckers, right? And even though they try to sound like single coils, and I feel like they do a pretty sweet job, you can still tell they're humbuckers. So definitely I think that will take that out of the equation. And then I want to say how similar these two sound too, right? And that's why I said in the beginning that this pickups, like the American Pro 2, sound a little bit like pretty much like a Fat 50s, but a little bit more modern. And I hope that you could hear that in this test. I am so convinced of that. And of course, it's not overlooked the fact that this is a maple fretboard and this is a rosewood fretboard, right? So of course, there's a little bit of a difference right there, or maybe not. Let me know in the comment section down below what you think. But now this is getting silly, right? But I feel like as soon as I dropped the volume on the PRS, it got a lot closer to the sound of this one. And of course, the sound of the Fat 50s. But I do feel like the PRS has a little bit more high end, sort of like the Amp Pro has. And those to me are like the most interesting things. How much of the tone differences you can sort of emulate with the PRS? Pretty crazy. If you lower the volume, it sounds like a regular, let's say traditional single coil, at least from Fender. And as long as you put a little bit more gain into it, it sounds a little bit more like the noiseless. So I think that was pretty interesting, but let me just put them down. But okay, what would be like the actual takeaway from the whole video? Can PRS actually sound like a single coil? And I think that's a two-part. The first one is like, what single coil? From what guitar? What year? What kind of wiring? You know what I'm trying to say? Because all of the single coil pickups sound different. Let me know in the comment section, right? So what's cool? It's such a versatile guitar. Because right now we just explored the single coil sounds, but if you can think that on top of that,
it does humbucker sounds.
And it does them really, really well too. So that's a lot of flexibility. And in the realm of just single coils, by just manipulating that volume pot, you have like a wide range of different single coil pickups in one guitar. One guitar, one amp, and you can make it sound like it was different guitars going through that same amp. Of course, if you were to let thread really thin, there's always some kind of variation. But I feel like the most important thing at that point is just the discretionary overlook. What are you willing to overlook? But that would be a conversation for a totally different day. And before I keep talking, remember, if you like this video, definitely subscribe, stay warm, stay safe, go to the comment section down below and let me know what you think. Other than that, I'm out, my friend.